You're watching the Wellness Hour, leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, hot topic. We're talking about reversing diabetes. And with us, we have an expert on the topic. He has 4 New York Times best-selling books, Dr. Mark Hyman. Dr. Hyman, welcome to the program.
Thanks
Pleasure
for
to
having
have
me,
you
Randy.
on, by the way. And I've been following you for quite some time. And so it is a pleasure to have you on the show. I've seen you on the Dr. Oz show. I mean, you're all over the place on television, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you've become mainstream.
Yep, I'm definitely not your regular doctor.
You know, we talked, prior to, I said, I want to have you come on a second program and talk about weight loss. And you said, it's the same thing.
That's
Elaborate
right.
on that.
That's right. People think of diabetes over here and obesity over here. But actually, it's a condition called diabesity, which is the continuum of blood sugar imbalances all the way from normal blood sugar all the way to full-blown diabetes. And people make an artificial distinction between pre-diabetes or obesity and diabetes, but they're actually the same thing. Diabesity is just the core name that describes both of them.
Okay, now for people that don't know you, by the way, what are the books you've written, by the way?
Well, I've written Ultra Prevention, Ultra Metabolism, which is the simple plan for automatic weight loss, the Ultra Simple Diet, which is a 1-week detox and healing program that will fix most chronic diseases in a week.
Okay.
I've written the Ultra Mind Solution, which is how to fix your broken brain by healing your body first. And I've just written a new book called The Blood Sugar Solution, which is about reversing obesity and diabetes.
You say diseases don't exist.
That's right.
What does that mean?
Well, I learned in medical school that there were all these diseases. In fact, there were 12,000 diseases I had to learn about in medical school. And yet, as I begun to understand medicine today and the emerging science, what we call systems medicine, those names don't really mean much. They're just labels.
So you don't like the labels?
They're labels that we give to a bunch of symptoms that have to do with where the problem is. So you got a headache, you got chest pain, you've got a different organ, and you go to the specialist for that organ, but it doesn't really tell you anything about the cause of that disease. We practice medicine by geography and by symptom. Where is it in your body and what's the symptom, instead of by cause and by mechanism. What's the underlying cause?
You call it functional medicine.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right. As opposed to dysfunctional medicine, which nobody wants to practice or get.
Right before we came on, I said, so are you an integrative medicine using the best of traditional? And you said no, not at all.
I'm not an integrated doctor. No, I think it's important to use alternative therapies and things that have evolved over centuries to be part of our medical toolkit. But fundamentally, our thinking about disease has to change. We have to rethink disease, rethink medicine, and rethink health. Because disease is really a manifestation of imbalances in the body. And functional medicine, which is what I do, is an understanding of how the body gets out of balance and how to fix it, how to take out the bad stuff and put in the good stuff. Your body knows what to do.
Is diabetes, type 2 diabetes, in almost every case, completely reversible?
Mostly, yes. There are maybe a few end-stage cases.
What's it caused by?
It's caused by our industrial diet, by environmental toxins, by bad bugs in our gut, by food sensitivities, by nutritional deficiencies, a whole set of things that are driving imbalances in our body that are causing this epidemic. Randy, since 1983 to 2008, there was a 7-fold increase worldwide in diabetes. But from 2008 to 2011, we've added another 110 million people to the roll call. That's crazy. In 1990, when I graduated from medical school, there was not one single state with an obesity rate over 20%. Now, in 2010, there is not one single state that has an obesity rate under 20%.
So you think that could be turned around, though?
Well,
you believe it. Do you see it every week? Do you see it every day in your practice?
Absolutely, see it every day.
Where's your practice, by the way, and who's the typical patient that sees you?
Well, my practice is in Lenox, Massachusetts, in Western Mass. We have 3 nutritionists. You can't see the doctor in my practice without seeing the nutritionist, because food, I believe, is medicine. And if you can't use food as medicine, you're not going to solve most
So are you a holistic doctor?
I'm not a holistic doctor. I take care of people with a whole list of problems.
Okay.
I look at how everything is connected. I connect the dots. I'm the connect the dots guy.
Okay. Do you get, because you're on all of these programs, like Dr. Oz, you're one of his favorite guests. I think I heard him say that on the show.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guests. Do you get the tough cases? Do people travel from other states to
absolutely.
see you?
I used to work at a health resort called Canyon Ranch, and I called myself a resort doctor because I was the doctor of last resort.
Is that right? Okay.
That's right. And I take care of people who've come to the end of the line, people who have chronic illnesses like autoimmune disease, intractable depression, autoimmune things like arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, as well as obesity issues, diabetes, chronic digestive disorders, allergic disorders, asthma, you name it. I had a little girl the other day who came to see me with migraines. She's had migraine 5 times a week for years, and within a few weeks they were gone.
Interesting. Even asthma, by the way, because we have a pharmacist in studio today who's been on inhalers, and I said, have you ever seen people that are off their inhalers?
That's right. It's
You
a
have,
classic,
really?
Absolutely. It's a classic. I've seen people with autoimmune disease, which is also an inflammatory disease, that have been on steroids, that have been on chemo drugs, that have been on $30,000 a year drugs called TNF-alpha blockers that shut off your immune system and cause cancer and overwhelming infection and death. And I've seen people get off all those medications by simply getting rid of the cause of the inflammation. And that's the difference between functional medicine and conventional practice. In conventional medicine, we say, what's the symptom? How do we suppress it? In functional medicine, we say, what's the cause? And how do we get the body back in balance? What's the cause of the inflammation? And how do we deal with that, not just the downstream symptoms? That's dealing with the smoke, not the fire.
You have 7 steps. What are they? I mean, I guess
7 steps in many of my books. For the blood sugar solution, which is coming out in March 2012, I have 7 key steps, which is 1, get tested. So you have to know your numbers. What's your weight? What's your blood pressure? What's your waist size? That's really important. Second, you need to know your numbers, your blood sugar number, your insulin number, which nobody's testing.
The blood work that you should suggest your doctor to get is in the book.
Absolutely. Not only that, I think people need to be empowered to take back their own health and take control of their health. And the way I do that is I give them a guide of how to work with their doctor to get what they need. And that guide they can get on my website, drhyman.com, and they can go there and find it. So it's really important to actually get tested. Second step is to get smart about nutrition. You got to know what to eat and how to eat. And it's very simple. Just eat real whole food. If it comes from a factory, don't eat it. If it was grown on a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't eat it. If it's something your grandmother recognizes food, eat it. I mean, she never heard of Lunchables or Go-Gurts. I mean, your grandmother wouldn't know what that was. If it's a real food, if it comes from the earth, vegetables, fruit, nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, these are things that are God-made or nature-made, and their body knows what to do with them.
Okay, so, and I said this to you respectfully, you're a thin guy, you're lean. What do you know about weight loss?
I know a lot about weight loss.
You've never had to lose weight in your life, though, right?
One, I've treated overweight people and obesity and diabetes for 20 years, and I've focused on this, and I've seen thousands and thousands of patients and tested tens of thousands of patients, so I know a lot about it.
So you can wipe out cravings, by the way?
Cravings, that's easy. In 2 days, people can cut their cravings. They think that they're addicted to food, and they are. But you can stop that addiction. Just like coffee, it takes a couple of days to get out of your system, but you can cut cravings by some very simple steps. One, you got to balance your blood sugar, so you got to eat small, frequent meals, 3 or 4 hours every meal, and you got to have snacks. You got to have protein with every meal. You got to eat breakfast, so you got to eat early and eat often. Second, you have to deal with things that are driving this, like sugar, flour, processed foods. You got to go cold turkey. No flour, no sugar, and no liquid calories. Very powerful. If you just shut that off, within a few days, you'll see cutting cravings. Okay,
diabetes. We have to go back on the topic here, diabetes. So what are the myths about diabetes, maybe that frustrate you or drive you nuts, that you hear?
The first myth is that it's genetic. So let me ask you this. We have changed our population from relatively thin population to a massively obese population and seen diabetes increase 7 to 8-fold just in the last 20 years. If it was genetic, how did our genes change? They only change 0.2% every 20,000 years. Our environments change, our diets change, our stress levels change, our activity levels changed. Those things change, not our genes. So we can change our genes by changing the environment. We change our gene expression. That happens, but our genes don't really change. Second is that diabetes can be fixed by medication and surgery. Well, guess what? There's some new studies that show that diabetes medication has been responsible for 47,000 excess cardiac deaths since it was introduced in 1999. That's Avandia. That's crazy. We know that gastric bypass may work for diabetes, but it's not the real solution.
Okay, but people taking insulin, people that are watching this, whether it's on YouTube or on television or wherever, if they're taking insulin, type 2 diabetics, okay, and their doctor said, but you have to take this insulin. What is your response to that?
My response is you should do what our national policies and government recommendations and all the health organizations recommend, which is change your diet and change your activity level first and then see what happens. The problem is most people just make incremental changes. And if Benjamin Franklin said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Most people with diabetes need a pound of cure. And we've seen studies that show, and this is the other myth that drives me crazy, is that diabetes is not reversible. It is.
It is.
It absolutely
Type
is.
2 is always reversible.
Absolutely is.
Really?
Type 1 is not.
Nobody would disagree with this? I mean, are there a lot of doctors
Of course there are doctors who disagree with it because they never see it. If you don't see something because you don't prescribe the right medicine, you're not going to see that it's possible. Wait, let me tell you this.
Okay.
So there was a study in England where they took advanced diabetics, they took them off their medication. In 1 week, they reversed their diabetes and their numbers were better off their medication even than when they were on their medication. This was just in 1 week. In 12 weeks, their
Really?
pancreas rebooted, their liver rebooted, all their numbers went to normal, and their diabetes completely reversed. We see this in my practice. I've had a patient just recently who was on 20 units of insulin and has been on insulin for years. 40 units of insulin for 20 years, was never able to lose weight. In a few weeks, we got her off her insulin, and she lost 20 pounds, and her numbers went to normal.
Is that like a side effect? I mean, the people go in for one thing like diabetes, and then they lose weight, blood pressure goes down.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, the thing is that, the problem with medicine is that we treat all these problems individually. We have a doctor for every inch of you, right? So,
Okay.
so you go to the doctor and you say, well, I have angina and I have reflux and I have...
So you don't like the specialist mentality?
No, I'm a super...
Really?
No, I'm a super generalist. I connect the dots. So this guy, George, comes to see me. He's 300 pounds. He has angina, heart failure, reflux, low testosterone, sexual dysfunction. He has swollen legs. He has sinus problems. You name it, he has it, right? He's on 9 medications. He had one of everything. After a year and a half.
So by the way,
wait.
Okay, go ahead.
After a year and a half, George, by changing his diet, by doing some supplements, by doing the program that I talk about in the Blood Sugar Solution, things that I talk about on my website, drhyman.com, he was able to lose 140 pounds. All his diseases went away.
Even the
as
heart
a
disease?
side effect, yes, as a side effect of getting healthy, and he lost 140 pounds. So we didn't treat any disease specifically. We treated his system, not the symptoms.
When he's on that consult with you, in your brain, are you going, this is going to be an easy one if he takes my advice?
Absolutely.
Is that what, you really think that?
This is no-brainer, lying down, kind of idiot-proof. Anybody can do it. It's not hard. It's simple. It's very simple. If you know what to do, it's simple. It's like that joke where the guy goes to get his appendix out and he gets a bill from the doctor for $1,000, and the guy writes him back, "Doctor, that was such an easy operation. How come you charge me $1,000? He goes, you're right. He says, sends him a new bill. Taking out your appendix, $1, knowing that's what needs to be taken out, $999, right?
Okay,
So you have to know where to push the buttons, but if you know, and we know now with the science we have, how to do that, you'll have an extraordinary result.
Okay, Blood Sugar Solution, and they can get it everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's coming out soon. You can go online and pre-order it now. So you can go to my website, drhyman.com, pre-order it, or amazon.com.
Who should read it? Who should read it?
Everybody. Because
Really?
Yes, and here's why.
Okay.
People think, diabetes, only a few people have it, or pre-diabetes, not really a big deal. First of all, 1 in 2 Americans has either pre-diabetes or diabetes.
Define pre-diabetes.
Pre-diabetes is what we call metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance. It's where you make too much insulin, which is a fat storage hormone, so it causes fat around the middle. I mean, almost 70% of Americans are overweight now. In 20 years, 1 in 2 Americans will be clinically obese. All of them almost have pre-diabetes or diabetes. So this is an epidemic. Now, what also it does is causes all these other problems: heart attacks, cancer, huge amount of contribution to cancer, dementia, depression, infertility, acne, everything, even low sex drive and erectile dysfunction. You name it, insulin resistance or prediabetes, which is driving almost every chronic disease in America, is fixable, it's solvable, and people can know how to do it.
Now, when patients go to you, by the way, because we're talking about heart disease, I mean, just about everything, cancer, obesity, that they come with sometimes, on 5 medications, 10 medications?
That's absolutely
And
true.
then,
Yeah, I mean, the cost of medications in this country is
what about Lipitor?
staggering.
Are you able to take people off Lipitor?
That's an easy one.
Really?
Let me ask you something. Is high cholesterol a Lipitor deficiency?
No.
No.
But it works, right? I mean, it lowers.
100 years ago, we had almost no heart attacks in this country. It wasn't because we had invented Lipitor and everybody was taking it, right?
Okay.
Something changed. So you either can, treat the downstream problem or the upstream cause. So if people know how to regulate their hormones and their biology, which is what I talk about in the Blood Sugar Solution, it's very easy to get people off cholesterol medication. And the other problem with cholesterol medication, let me just say this.
Okay.
Statins, are prescribed to enormous quantities. The number 1 selling drug in this country. This is a cholesterol-lowering medication. Studies have shown that it doesn't work to prevent your first heart attack. It only works to prevent second heart attacks, which means if you've never had a heart attack, it doesn't work. Only if you've already had one, it can prevent another one. But 75%.
But having high cholesterol is dangerous.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But 75% of all the prescriptions for cholesterol are for people who've never had a heart attack. Now that's a problem because it has side effects, including causing diabetes. New studies showed that 9% increase in people for diabetes if they're taking statins. So you're more likely to get diabetes if you're taking a statin. And if everybody who was supposed to take it according to guidelines took statins, we'd have 3 million more diabetics.
Okay. Aside from the fact that it doesn't work, according to you, what's the main side effect with statins?
Well,
what's bad about taking it?
statins blocks something called CoQ10, which affects
Okay.
your energy metabolism. So it actually can cause neurologic problems. It can cause muscle damage. Millions of people who are on it have damage to their mitochondria and their muscles, which causes muscle aching and pain. But that's not the issue. It's that it damages the major thing in your body that is responsible for healthy aging. So you think in one hand it's like the cardiologist said to me, well, I don't care what happens to the brain. My heart's my favorite organ, right?
Okay.
So it doesn't.
So it affects your brain as well.
It can, yeah.
Can't you just take CoQ10?
You can take CoQ10, but you know what? You start messing with your biology at that level, cholesterol is not bad. Cholesterol makes all your hormones. You can't have testosterone or estrogen without cholesterol. You can't make your nerve covering cells without cholesterol. You can't make your brain cells without cholesterol. If you shut off your cholesterol, you can get severe problems.
So diabetes, by the way, in your book, okay, so in this book, but do you make it as almost the staple that that's what's going to ultimately kill you?
Yeah,
that's going to lead to cancer, that's going to lead to this.
I went to a lecture once by a very prominent Harvard cardiologist, a cardiologist of preventive medicine. And he said, if you could take a group of 100-year-old people and you could find the ones who had absolutely clean arteries, were perfectly healthy at 100 years old, what would be the one thing they'd have in common? And you know what he said?
What's that?
They would be insulin sensitive, meaning they wouldn't have diabesity or prediabetes or diabetes. That is the single biggest cause of aging, period. I went to a conference with one of the leaders in aging who was talking about how we turn on the anti-aging genes. I said, what are those genes and how do they work? He says, they make you insulin sensitive. They fix diabesity. That's what causes aging.
Is that outlined in this book?
Absolutely.
Now, do you believe in things like, okay, so supplementation, the right kind of diet, is that right? Exercise, that's in there. What about hormone replacement therapy, things like that?
I think that can be useful. One of the things that diabesity causes is low testosterone in men, and it screws up hormones in a big way because it leads to low testosterone, which leads to muscle loss, which makes you more insulin resistant, and it's a vicious cycle. So sometimes you have to break that cycle by using hormones like testosterone in men. And you can also balance hormones in women who have hormones that are out of balance. And infertility is caused by diabetes as well. Women who have acne, irregular menstrual cycles, all sorts of other hormonal problems, all can be caused by
What's the number one misconception about what you do as a doctor that practices functional medicine? You think by the lay people?
I think people think they don't really know what it is, because it's so much outside of the paradigm of what we do. In other words, it's like me saying to people, hey, in 1490 that the Earth was round, and people think you're crazy. No, the Earth is flat. I'm saying diseases don't exist. It's really about imbalances in your body's systems. They go, well, of course diseases exist. Look, I got this cancer. I've got a heart attack. I got a reflux. I got this colitis. Those are all names that we give to symptoms. They don't talk about causes. And functional medicine is based on understanding the causes and how to get your body back in balance. So they don't really understand that everything's connected. They intuitively know that. I mean, they know that you go to your doctor, you say, well, I have asthma, and I got migraines, and I got irritable bowel, and my joints hurt. They go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I can only take care of one problem. I'm going to send you to 3 other specialists,
Is that right? Okay.
Right, to fix those other problems. I'm saying, no. They're all connected. And I'm the connect the dots guy. Functional medicine is the medicine that connects the dots.
So by controlling your blood sugar, can you get people off antidepressants? Things like that?
Absolutely.
Do you see that happening?
I see that happen. There are many causes of depression, and depression is just another symptom, right? It can be caused by low thyroid, by food allergies, by low vitamin D, by taking too much acid-blocking medication that causes B12 deficiency, be caused by eating too much mercury-containing fish like tuna, or hating fish, which causes omega-3 fat deficiencies, and it can be caused by eating too many Cinnabons, which cause prediabetes, which is a known cause of depression. So fixing this will fix depression in people who have that as a cause.
Okay, and it's people could follow it. The average person could follow it.
Yes, it's very simple. Clearly steps outlined. It's something you can do at home. I always say that food is medicine. It's not like medicine, it is medicine.
Food is medicine.
Yes, and the most powerful thing you're going to have to cure your illness is not what you find at the bottom of a pill bottle, it's what you find at the end of your fork.
Okay.
Dinner is a date with the doctor. Remember that. You can heal with meals.
Okay. Now you said I think I heard you say this on TED or something, that the pharmacies of the future are the grocery stores.
That's right.
Did you say something like that?
That's right. When I go shopping for my drugs, I go to the grocery store. I go to the supermarket, and I look at vegetables and fruits and plant foods that are in the grocery store as my medicine. And I think, okay, what drugs do I need today? I'm going to take some broccoli, which has things that can help me detox. I'm going to have some curcumin. I'm going to make a curry tonight because that's an anti-inflammatory. I'm going to take things that help me balance my blood sugar, like cinnamon or other things. So I think about all the medicinal properties in foods that nobody's really thinking about, and how we can use food as medicine.
But the poor people in this country don't have access to this kind of food sometimes.
That's right.
So, and they're getting the type 2 diabetes. I mean, you see 11, 12, 13-year-old girls built like 50-year-old women or 70-year-old women that are out of shape.
That's right.
So what's the solution there? What do you do there?
It's
Could
a huge
this book help those people?
Absolutely. I mean, you're seeing 1,000% increase in type 2 diabetes in children. We used to call it adult onset diabetes. We can't call it that anymore because kids 7 years old get it. Now, this problem is because of food deserts, because people can't walk 5 miles and find a vegetable. That's got to change, and that is changing slowly. There are things happening where people can start to get access to real food.
But what if somebody says, and you must hear this from patients, because even knowing that you're going to come on the show, people that are headed toward type 2 diabetes, they said, but I don't want to live a boring life. I don't want to have to eat like that. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
no fun at all.
The problem is
how
we
that
define
person?
fun.
Okay.
If you define fun as feeling like crap all the time, go for it. But most people are actually addicted to industrial food.
Really?
Combinations of salt, fat, and sugar, the way they're designed and put into processed and junk foods and fast food, actually causes biological addiction. And if you study this in humans and animals, if you take a rat and you put them between cocaine and sugar, they're always going to go for the sugar. If you look at what parts of the brain light up in people who are junk food and processed food addicts, it's the same thing as heroin or cocaine. And we know how to turn those things off. That's what I talk about in the blood sugar solution. And those are things that are driving this epidemic.
So people can get people to not crave sugar.
Absolutely. I mean,
is that right?
Let me tell you, the food industry has hijacked our taste buds. They have hijacked our taste buds and our kitchens, and we think we like this food. But let me tell you something. If you get off it for a while and you begin to taste what real food tastes like, it tastes way better than that stuff you get in boxes.
Is it a cold? I mean, do you taper off this kind of
personally?
lifestyle?
No. I think.
So you like to cold turkey these people?
I think it's like, well, let's see. If a horse is standing on 5 toes and you get him off of just 3 toes, are you going to feel better?
Okay.
No. You gotta sometimes, if you're really in trouble, you've got to reset your system. And
patients have to be ready for this, by the way, because I mean, if they've heard about you, read the book, you have a tremendous amount of leverage on them. Mm-hmm. But what about people? What about somebody that's healthy and wants to give this to their spouse?
Listen, this isn't about weight loss. It isn't about fixing disease.
About health. What is
this is about creating health. And when you create health, disease goes away as a side effect. So the trick and the secret is here that almost no matter what your problem is, this will work for you.
Really? Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I can tell you, type 3 diabetes is what they're calling Alzheimer's now. You know why?
Is that right?
Yes, because Alzheimer's is caused in part by insulin resistance or diabesity.
And heart disease, things like that, you think could be wiped out?
Absolutely. 1 in 2 people who go to the emergency with a heart attack have normal cholesterols, but 2/3 of them have either pre-diabetes or diabesity or diabetes, and they're not diagnosed.
So diabetes is a bigger risk for dying of sudden cardiac death than high cholesterol.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
If you ask any cardiologist, they'll tell you this. The biggest risk factor for heart attacks is diabetes. And I would say pre-diabetes. I had a guy named Ron in my practice. He was 50 years old, thought he was healthy, was eating crap all the time. And then, he thought that, green food was green M&Ms. And he had a heart attack. And he got scared. And he came to see me. His doctors put him on cholesterol medications, blood thinners, blood pressure medications. They were treating all the side effects or the symptoms, not the cause. And nobody diagnosed him with this pre-diabetes or diabesity. His insulin levels were off the chart. And after a year, he got off all his medication, he lost 50 pounds, and his numbers were better off the medication than when he was on his cholesterol medication. And all of his problems went away, his heart disease reversed.
Is that typical in your practice?
Yeah, you know what? If people follow it, absolutely. If people get that they can feel that good. I mean, most people think that it's not possible to feel that good. It is possible. There is a tremendous amount of power in food and the way you live, and people don't realize it. I mean, listen, if a drug could make obesity go away and cure heart disease and cure cancer, I would be sitting on the corner with a big megaphone handing out prescriptions for free.
Yeah.
But there isn't going to be a pill.
You don't write prescriptions?
I write some
when
I need them. But
that's traditional medicine?
I'm into treating the cause, and you can treat causes with medications. I don't have a problem. If you have an infection, that could be making you sick. I don't mind treating the infection. But to give someone a medication for blood pressure, cholesterol, when the real cause is how they're living, their diet, their lifestyle, and environmental toxins, doesn't make sense.
So no matter what the problem is, they go into your office, whether they're 300 pounds overweight, they have high cholesterol, depression, anxiety, you name it, Mm-hmm. Is your approach, for the most part, somewhat the same? I mean, you're going to run tests,
right?
But is it kind of the same no matter what it is?
Well, that's a great question. Is there a basic program for everybody? and then what's the differences for individual patients, right? So the basic program for everybody is the Health Creation Program, which is the foundation of the blood sugar solution in all the things I write about and talk about, things that you can find on my website, drhyman.com. But the program for people who have unique individual problems, I also outline in there. I call it the personalization step. The next key to getting people healthy, besides the basic program for creating health, is personalization. And the future of medicine is personalized medicine. And the way I do that is from very specific questionnaires or quizzes, which are all on my website.
Okay.
And these quizzes tell you what system's out of balance. Do you have problems with inflammation? Are you toxic? Is your gut out of balance? Are your hormones out of balance? And how do you know what to do based on those problems? And I guide you through exactly how to fix those, each set of imbalances by very specific sets of recommendations. So you can both have a general wellness program that works 80% of the time, and then you can have personalization to fine-tune things. And that is a very powerful self-care model.
Do you think it's the most comprehensive book of its kind? I haven't read this particular book. I'm on your other books right now. But do you think it's, I mean, do you feel that way deep down? It's the most comprehensive book of its kind?
I've written a lot of books, and all I can tell you is that when people follow them and they do the personalization steps, I had a woman come to see me the other day, and she was really doing pretty well. And I said, well, why are you here? She said, well, I was really sick, and it took me 6 months to get an appointment. So I read your book, and I followed everything in the book, and all my problems went away, and I lost 22 pounds. And all I did was go through the questionnaires. I followed the personalization steps. I did the extra things you talked about, including different dietary steps or different supplements that work to tweak these things. And all my problems went away. That's what happens when you follow this program.
Now, you see that all the time, by the way.
All the time. Now, there are some people that will need to work with a doctor, and that's why I've written this guide, how to work with your doctor to get what you need.
Now, we're just about out of time, but you went through something too. You weren't always healthy, right?
No, I mean, that's how I found out about all this stuff. I'm like, I went to regular medical school, and I realized everything I learned in medical school was pretty much wrong when I had chronic fatigue syndrome and I couldn't fix it. And everybody was telling me I was crazy, needed antidepressants, but what I found out was that every single system in my body broke down, that I had gut problems, that I was toxic, that all these things
What does that mean,
shifted.
gut problems?
I had bad bugs in my gut. You know, we have an ecosystem
Intestine?
in our intestine, right. We have a whole ecosystem in there. When that gets out of balance because of bad food and too many bad drugs, it screws us up. And I had an infection, I had toxins from mercury from living in China, and a whole combination of things. And I had to figure out how to fix my system, symptom by symptom, cell by cell.
So like kill the bad bugs?
Many things. I had to get every system back in balance. So I became an expert in all these systems because every one of my systems broke down. My metabolism broke down, my immune system broke down, my digestion broke down, my brain broke down. It was like I had dementia, ADD, and depression all at once. And I had to figure out how to get back on track because I knew I wasn't crazy, I knew I wasn't depressed, I knew there was something really going on that nobody could figure out.
How many years ago was that?
15 years ago.
How long did it take where you were fixed?
Well, I didn't have anybody guiding me, and I didn't have any books to read like this that helped me. So it took me longer. It took me about 4 or 5 years to figure it all out.
Is that right? So you could never practice medicine any other way now?
No, I mean it's like if you know what works.
Even in medical schools today, do you think it's completely wrong what they're doing?
Yeah, I teach in medical schools, and I have doctors coming up to me and saying, I'm crying. This is what I thought medicine was. This is what I've been wanting to hear about. This is what I've been learning. I mean, I teach physicians all over the country, all over the world, and this is what they're desperate for, because they know once they hear it, that it's like the light bulb goes on. This is the truth. You know, it's like what T.H. Huxley said when he heard of the theory of evolution. How stupid not to have thought of that. That's what people think of when they think of what we do.
What about the doctor that tells me, Randy, the problem with this functional medicine, anti-aging medicine, whatever we call it, there's no science to back it up.
Science? There's plenty of science. There's millions.
Do you hear that, by the way?
Yeah, of course. There's plenty of science. In fact, I think my books have an average of 400 or 500 scientific references that document every single thing I say and recommend.
Okay, vitamins, by the way, and we have to end here on vitamins. I guess in an internal medicine journal that women over 55 shouldn't take supplements.
Right. Well, you know.
And they even die faster.
That's right.
Sooner.
You know, think about it. If you look at that study carefully, there's major flaws with it. First of all, and this is where I get mad with the media. You can't prove cause and effect by looking at a population, by taking a bunch of women, following them for a bunch of years, not really doing an experiment, but just sort of looking what happens. You can't derive an association. You can't prove cause and effect. So that's the first flaw with this study. The second is that the women who actually took the vitamins were overall a little healthier by how they ate and their blood pressure and weight.
Okay.
But what they didn't say in the study was that they also took more hormones. they took more estrogen. And in those days when that study was done, it was Premarin, which we know now causes increases increases in heart attacks, strokes, and cancer. So of course they were going to die more.
Wow.
They didn't talk about the forms of the nutrients. They didn't talk about whether they were biologically active, whether they were the right doses. There was no sort of science around how we actually figured out what they were.
So do you think mainstream family practitioners will read that, not go deep?
Absolutely. The media doesn't go deep. Most doctors don't know how to don't read the research originally themselves. They rely on sort of reports or media to figure out what's going on. And it's unfortunate because if you do a little homework, you see that, there's 40 years of research that's showing that nutrients are critical and powerful in reducing health problems. Just vitamin D, for example, can reduce mortality by 7%. It can reduce our healthcare costs by $40 to $50 billion a year if everybody had vitamin D levels of 45 nanograms per milliliter. I mean, it's really, per deciliter. It's really pretty simple.
The childhood obesity epidemic, and we have to move on. If you were in charge tomorrow, what changes would you make?
I would change the school environment overnight. This is a state-run school system for the most part, and we shouldn't be allowing anything in there that harms kids, period. We would change our families by making those safe zones for kids, by learning how to cook again. We need to create community-based programs that teach families how to take back their kitchens. The average family has dinner 20 minutes 3 times a week, eating a different microwave food made in a different factory while they're texting or watching TV. That doesn't create healthy kids. We know that.
Okay, so get everybody involved. You say partner up with a health program?
Yeah.
Not to do it alone, very important?
Yes. I think one of the things we've learned about how we get healthy is we get healthy together, that we're better together. I've been doing a program with a church, a Saddleback church in Orange County, 30,000 people, 14,000 people signed up for this program to get healthy together in groups.
Wow.
The people who did it together in groups lost twice as much weight and got twice as healthy as the people who did it alone. Group is medicine.
So you're the doctor in charge of that. That's Warren, right?
Myself, Dr. Mehmet Oz, Dr. Daniel Amen, and Rick Warren, we've created this together, and it's an extraordinary experiment, a social experiment.
Wow.
And it's outside the healthcare system. And you know what? Not only did people get better in terms of weight loss and get off their diabetes and high blood pressure medications, but all these other problems went away. Colitis, autoimmune diseases, migraines, irritable bowel, asthma,
so there's got to be, 20,000 people in that church?
Their sex drive got better. I mean, everything got better.
Really?
There's 30,000 people. We're going to scale this up across America. You'll see.
Really? People off their meds, all these things, feeling better. Do you believe the second half of your life could be the best half of your life?
Absolutely.
50 plus, 40.
Absolutely. You're smarter. And you're not so stupid. Your brain works a little better. And if you understand how to work with your body rather than against it, you can have vibrant, alive, and a vibrant, healthy, creative life well into being 100 years old.
So, Dr. Hyman at 80.
Me?
What's your projection?
My projection is I'm climbing mountains like I did when I was 50.
Okay.
You
think it'll be over 100?
Me, absolutely.
Is that right?
I'm counting on it.
Okay, good.
A lot of stuff to do.
In this environment of eating the way you do you think it's almost impossible to grow cancers and things like that? I mean, are you of that belief, philosophy?
No, I don't think it's impossible because unfortunately, not only is it our diet, which we have control over, but it's the environment which we don't have control over. So if there's mercury in the air, if there's pesticides in our water, if there's pesticides in our food, if there's pollutants that we're exposed to, if there's plastic, I mean, the average newborn has 278 chemicals, toxic chemicals in their blood before they even took their first breath. Flame retardants, pesticides, phthalates, bisphenol A, mercury, lead, arsenic. Even before they took their first breath, these toxins are known to cause cancer and they can cause many, many chronic diseases. Okay, good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Very interesting. So your book, The Blood Sugar Solution, I guess they can get it in every bookstore in America. They can get it on Amazon now. They can order it from my website. It's coming out soon. Keep an eye out for it. Okay, good one. Thank you for coming on the show. Very interesting. We're watching The Wellness Hour, leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. If you would like to see this interview again online, you go to our website, put in Dr. Hyman. For now, I wish you good health.
Thanks for watching The Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news with your host, Randy Alvarez, the authority on health issues.